Hi, I thought I'd record a video for you talking about writing as inquiry. So what I have pulled up here is straight from your textbook, but this is stuff that I also mentioned in the learning activity above. Don't worry about that right now, but we'll talk about this in a second. So inquiry is useful for all writing, but it might be particularly useful when starting your evaluation essay. To inquire means to investigate and be curious about something. And one of the best ways to do that is by asking questions. A lot of times I see students making the mistake of only writing about what's obvious to them. And what usually happens is that they end up running out of things to say about the subject. So the essay ends up being short, or they end up repeating what they've already said over and over again. And the essay ends up sounding redundant, both of which aren't going to get you a good grade on your essay. When you raise questions about a subject, things that you don't already know the answers to, it allows you to think about different ways to talk about your subject so that you're not being repetitive. It gives you something specific to respond to. A lot of times, if you raise a question, it helps you to articulate exactly how you want to discuss that subject. And a lot of times it's easier to respond to a question rather than, trying to figure out exactly what to say. So in other words, if I ask you to write me a paper about the national debt, that might seem pretty overwhelming. Whereas if I ask you specific questions to answer, it sometimes makes it a little bit easier to figure out how to talk about it. So yeah, I think that it's going to make it easier, especially to help make your paper longer. A lot of students struggle with figuring out how to fill 5 pages or 3 pages or whatever it is. And if you're bringing up questions and responding to them, it's going to give you more content to discuss in your essay. So in a very practical sense, this asking of questions is going to help you figure out exactly what to write in your paper and help you make it longer. So this inquiry or raising of questions, this is something that can be done at any point in the writing process. It's especially good when you're generating ideas before you start writing the paper. But, if you're drafting the paper and realize that you're running a little bit short, maybe go back to that brainstorming phase and ask a different question and build a new paragraph around that response. And there are lots of different ways to do that. I mean, on this page that I have pulled up here, and I'll scroll down a little bit, it gives you all sorts of different questions that you might raise about your subject. Sorry, it's not letting me scroll down. Here we go. But yeah, again, these are straight out of the learning activity above. But just choosing one or a couple of these questions might give you several more paragraphs that you can discuss in your paper. So again, make sure you refer back to these both in your book and in the learning activity. So again, I think that inquiry can be especially useful for your evaluation essay when you're establishing your criteria. In order to help your audience understand how you're judging your subject, you need to make it clear what your expectations are for that thing. Questioning can help you figure out what those expectations are so that you can clearly convey them to your audience. So I thought I'd show you just a particular example that I did on my own. Let me pull up my document here. So let's say I'm evaluating a particular college. So I want to evaluate how Tri-C is as a school. So I might start raising questions and answering them to figure out how I'm going to talk about it in a paper. So here I just focused on one question. So maybe I would ask a question like, how would I define a good college experience? Because again, in order to help the audience understand whether Tri-C is good or bad, I need to first figure out what I'm looking for in a good college experience and start to articulate that and then compare Tri-C to those expectations. So for me, a good college experience means individual attention and support. It means small class sizes. There should be approachable and interesting professors. There should be activities for socializing outside of class. And there should be clean and well-kept facilities. I could probably keep adding to that, but maybe those are just what I would start with and then see how long the essay is. Like, if I wanted to, if I needed more, I could always think of, another kind of expectation that I have for a good college experience. So once I start to answer this question, then I can start to figure out how I want to organize the essay. And realistically, I could probably build a paragraph around each of these expectations that I responded with to this question. So what I have below is just like a general outline of what each paragraph of this essay might look like. And again, this isn't what I would, this isn't going to be the entire paragraph, but just kind of a little summary of what I might talk about in each paragraph of the paper as I compare Tri-C to these expectations that I have. So in paragraph 1, I talk about this expectation of individual attention and support. And just like a one-sentence summary is that Tri-C offers a lot of services to help students get information and navigate their classes. So as far as that expectation, Tri-C does a good job of that. As far as small class sizes, I might talk about that in paragraph 2 and why that's important to me, and then talk about how Tri-C fits with that expectation. So most class sizes at Tri-C are average to small, which allows students to really feel like they're part of the class. There are some larger classes, though, depending on the subject. So again, I could say maybe for certain classes, we need smaller class sizes, but for the most part, those class sizes are pretty good. Maybe in paragraph 3, I talk about this expectation of having approachable and interesting professors. So, I think most of the professors at Tri-C are very kind and try really hard to help students be successful. Again, I'm probably a little biased here, but I think that's true for the most part. Maybe in paragraph 4, I'd address the activities that are available for socializing outside of class. So as a commuter school, it's more difficult to get that college experience at Tri-C, especially during COVID. However, there are clubs at Tri-C for students to form a sense of community. Maybe there just need to be more. So, whereas I think Tri-C is strong in most of these areas, maybe one of its weaker areas would be this idea of outside of class social activities, right? So I talk about maybe that needs to be improved. So again, in an evaluation essay, you're supposed to talk about both strengths and weaknesses. Probably what you're going to be evaluating is not entirely good or entirely bad. So try to be fair about that assessment. And then maybe in paragraph 5, I talk about this expectation of clean and well-kept facilities. Most of the facilities on campus are kept in good working order. Depending on the campus, some facilities are pretty old though, or have equipment that doesn't work so well. But every year the school works on upgrading certain parts of the campuses. So for example, I know that at the Western campus, some of their bathrooms are very old, but this year they're upgrading those finally. So again, trying to be fair and say for the most part things are good, but there's some facilities that are older and could use some work, right? So again, when I do this, I'm just creating sort of a general outline of where I see the paper going, right? So I think, if I needed to, I could add in some more because maybe 5 paragraphs won't be enough to fill 3 pages, but this is maybe a good start even before I go into drafting the paper. So then I kind of just did a sample paragraph. It's not enough just to kind of do a 1 or 2 sentence explanation. Instead, I want to kind of elaborate and give details about this expectation that I'm talking about in each paragraph. So again, this is just like an example of what a paragraph might look like. So I wrote a paragraph on this first expectation that I talked about above, this idea of individual attention and support. And I want to make the point that this is something that Tri-C, I think, does pretty well. So let's look at the paragraph that I wrote. One of the most important qualities of a good college experience is providing students with individual attention and support. And for the most part, Tri-C is very good about addressing students' needs. So notice in the topic sentence of this paragraph, I'm mentioning the expectation that I have and saying up front how well Tri-C does at meeting this expectation. So the expectation is, individual attention and support, and I'm saying that Tri-C is good at that, right? If I didn't think that Tri-C was very good at that, I'd make that clear in the topic sentence. But just remember that that first sentence of a paragraph should state the point that you're going to make, and then you're going to use the rest of that paragraph to support that point. So I'm going to give details and examples to help support that topic sentence. So I said, Tri-C has counseling services that range from helping students choose their classes to providing assistance with mental health or emotional issues. There are opportunities for individual tutoring in a variety of courses when students are struggling with course material. There's also a writing center on each campus with tutors who assist students in the process of writing papers. Student Accessibility Services is an office on each Tri-C campus that helps students with documented mental, physical, or learning disabilities get the accommodations they need to do well in their classes. While some of these offices are not open on campus right now due to COVID, they all offer their services remotely so that students can access them online. The commitment to helping students have the opportunity to take courses while balancing the demands of their personal lives is one of Tri-C's greatest strengths as a college. So again, I gave several different examples of ways that Tri-C helps students with their individual needs. And at the end of the paragraph, I kind of summed up that this is a strength that Tri-C has, and gives a sense that I'm giving Tri-C a pretty good review, at least so far, right? So again, what I showed you, this is really just one question that I answered, right? If we go back to this page in the book, I just talked about how I define a college experience, right? You might ask a question like, how can it be described? Like, how would you describe what it's like to be a student at Tri-C? Where you could give lots of details. You could give a specific experience that you had as a student at Tri-C. So again, these questions are here to help you if you get stuck. Just bring another one in if you feel like you're running a little bit short. So there should be no reason why you can't fill 3 pages on whatever you decide to write about for your evaluation. Okay, good luck.